So, Mike, I was at Put in Bay this weekend, and I threw up in just about every trash can on the island.
Dude, can we do that for my 21st?
Yeah, fuck yeah.
Fuck yeah.
Let's go.
What is going on, serial killer and true crime fans? It's Mike Hook coming at you live alongside Jacob Yukum, aka Killjoy Jake, live from Jacob's basement. How you doing, bro?
I'm doing good. This isn't 100% live, but yes.
You know what I mean.
We are on the air. We are ready to go and talk about some crazy killings and stuff.
Some crazy killings?
Crazy killings. Like literally one person today, but yeah.
Ooh.
Yep.
Yeah, that's true.
Yep.
Yeah, I actually told him who we're talking about, but like more in advance than just like during the episode.
Yeah. But for the record, I don't know too much about this, so
No,
today's going to be a learning experience.
He literally looked at me when I told him who we're doing, and he literally goes, I don't know anything about this case at all.
No.
So I am going to be learning a lot today. And then he's just like, what? Like, so I told him over text, and he was like, okay, can you tell me a little bit more about this case before we go into it and start talking about it? And I'm like, no.
Yeah, so I'm going into this real blind with my fruit snacks.
And
What do you got going on here? What is this?
I'm banging and hanging.
Oh,
But what's that over there? That I see?
Another Bang energy drink, which is delicious, and you should definitely drink them.
And you should definitely sponsor us if you're listening to us banging.
If you're Bang, yep, you said it.
What flavor you got today?
Today I'm trying out purple guava pear, one I have not tried yet. So.
I am drinking peach mango, one that I have tried.
I heard, yes, let's go. Let's
do the ASMR.
This is the ASMR of the channel. Oh, delicious. Mike, I'm a little hard right now.
My nipples just lactated a little bit.
You might need some napkins. Wow.
I lactated Bang. I bangtated.
That is absolutely delicious, just like every other flavor of Bang that you should definitely go check out. We're not sponsored yet. We're getting there, though.
We will eventually get there.
All right, Mike.
I feel like I should actually tell them who we're covering.
We haven't even said that yet.
No, we haven't. We are actually going to be doing a two-part series. We are going to be covering two cases in two separate videos, but both are very intertwined, and you want to know why?
Why is that, Mike?
We are covering the cases of the murders of Biggie Smalls and Tupac.
Ooh, okay, this is a little different. This is not quite a serial killer chronicle, but it's a rapper chronicle today. Crunk rapper killer podcast today. That's what we're doing.
Dude,
crunked out.
You know what would be a great podcast, though?
What?
Kronk Chronicles. It's just a story about Kronk from The Emperor's New Groove.
I don't know, man.
That'd be a great podcast. I would listen to it.
Yeah.
I can tell you that.
Yeah.
All right. You ready?
All right, let's do this.
Turn off the lights and get ready for part one of a two-part series covering the murder of Biggie Smalls and Tupac. This week, the notorious B.I.G, a.k.a. Biggie Smalls.
About to get gangster in here. It's what I usually say, but instead of spooky, you know,
I don't like this man anymore.
I've literally been thinking that since you told me we were gonna do Biggie.
Of course you were.
I was like, oh, I'll change it to that. It's perfect.
Oh my god, how did I not think that you were going to do that? So Christopher George Latour Wallace was born on May 21st, 1972 in New York City. He's originally from the Bed-Stuy region of Brooklyn. Obviously, he was one of the most famous rap artists of all times and is considered by many to be probably a top 3 rapper of all time.
Wow, yeah, I would say so.
He was one of the big pioneers. He was one of the first people to bring rap truly into the mainstream alongside people like Tupac, Snoop Dogg, Dr. Dre, and Wu-Tang Clan, among many others. Yeah.
What's some of his big hits for the people who don't know, like myself?
Juicy, Big Papa. I was listening to him earlier. Juicy, Big Papa, Hypnotize, Mo Money, Mo Problems, Old Things Back. Some of his most famous albums are Duets, The Final Chapter, Ready to Die, and Life After Death.
Okay, so those are some like classic rap hits right there.
Indeed.
I mean, everyone knows some of those.
Mm-hmm. So obviously, Biggie Smalls was killed in 1997 outside the Peterson Automotive Museum in Los Angeles, California on March 9th, 1997, and he was killed by a drive-by shooting.
Wow.
He was only 24 years old at the time.
Oof. That's too young, man.
That's one of the things that's always been sad about this case is that both Biggie and Tupac both died when they were incredibly young. Biggie was 24, Tupac was 25, and they were both just finally starting to break into mainstream.
Yeah.
And it was, with Biggie especially, like, he was one of the people that made it possible for people that didn't necessarily look like stereotypical Hollywood images to make it big in Tinseltown. Obviously, you know, the obvious thing, he was black, but he was also big, hence the name Biggie Smalls, and he wasn't necessarily the most attractive person, but he was still arguably the biggest star in the 90s at that time, or at least in the music scene.
Talent weighs a lot more than like looks and all that BS, you know?
Yeah, and I always say this, I think that Biggie was more talented than Tupac, honestly.
Yeah?
I think Tupac had better songs and was more artistic, but Biggie was overall more talented. He was a better actual rapper than Tupac
That
was.
sounds like a controversial statement right there. I mean, I'm not disagreeing with you, I'm just saying.
Yeah. Do you disagree with me?
Leave something in the comments below if you're watching this on YouTube. Subscribe to Unbranded News and Media, by the way.
Indeed, you should. Okay, so at this time, obviously, race tensions were very high, especially in Los Angeles. This is 5 years after the Rodney King shooting.
Oh, okay.
And also, along with that, the Rodney King incident, that's my bad. And on top of that, the East Coast, West Coast rap rivalry had started, and gang tensions between the Southside Crips and the Bloods were really starting to escalate at this point in time. So what ended up happening was that Wallace actually traveled to California to promote Life After Death and record a music for its lead single Hypnotize on March 5th. He gave a radio interview with the Doghouse on KYLD in San Francisco. In the interview, he stated that he had hired a security detail since he feared for his safety, but that this was due to being a celebrity figure in general, not specifically because he was a rapper. On March 8th, Wallace was presented an award to Tony Braxton at the 11th Annual Soul Train Music Awards in Los Angeles and was booed by some of the audience. He then attended an after-party hosted by Vibe and Quest Records at the Peterson Automotive Museum. Guests included Evans, Aaliyah, Combs, and members of the Crips and Blood gangs. The next day at 12:30 a.m. Pacific Standard Time, after the fire department closed the party early due to overcrowding, Wallace left with his entourage in two GMC Suburbans to return to his hotel.
Okay, now real quick question. Did Biggie associate with one of these groups, like one of the Bloods or the Crips? Just out of curiosity.
He was not directly initiated into the Crips, but he, considering where he was from, as well as, you know, who he was associated with in LA.
Yeah.
It was, he had heavy Crips ties, but he also knew people that were associated with Bloods as well.
But he wasn't like openly.
No, he wasn't. He wasn't openly
other.
Involved in any gang or the other.
Okay. I was just curious.
He traveled in the front passenger seat alongside associate Damon D-Rock Butler, Little Cease, and driver Gregory G. Money Young. Combs traveled in the other vehicle, and Combs is P. Diddy, Sean Puff Diddy Combs. Yeah.
Oh, did he died here too?
He did not know.
He did not. Okay. I don't know these things. He's probably still alive.
He is actually. Yeah.
Yeah, see, there we go.
Yeah, he is. The two trucks were trailed by a Chevrolet Blazer carrying Bad Boy Director of Security Paul Offord. By 12:45 a.m., the streets were crowded with people leaving the party. Wallace's truck stopped at a red light 50 yards from the Peterson Automotive Museum, and a black Chevy Impala pulled up alongside it. The Impala's driver, an unidentified African-American man dressed in a blue suit and bow tie, rolled down his window, drew a 9mm blue steel pistol, and fired at Wallace's car. 4 bullets hit Wallace, and his entourage subsequently rushed him to Cedars-Sinai Medical Center, where doctors performed an emergency thoracotomy, but he was pronounced dead at 1:15 a.m. His autopsy, which was released 15 years after his death, showed that only the final shot was fatal. It entered through his right hip and struck his colon, liver, heart, and left lung before stopping in his left shoulder.
How does that even happen? It just like twisted up through him? Like, what was the angle of the shot?
The same thing was like with the, remember the magic bullet theory for JFK?
Oh yeah, how the exit wound was like different from something like that. Yeah, it's like
so bullet. What I think happened is that it would go through different parts of his body and hit organs and stuff like that, and.
So is it like I'm not trying to laugh, but is it like ricocheting off of different parts of his body?
I don't know. I honestly don't know. I don't.
With my very limited knowledge of guns,
Yeah.
This is my guess. I know, like,
I don't know either.
what I have heard, like what I've heard is, I know, like, an M16, like, if you shoot that in somebody, it, like, the reason those are so deadly is they, like, twist around for whatever because of the shape of the bullet.
Yeah.
So I wonder if, like, this is kind of the same scenario. Like, I'm just curious, you know. I don't know.
Maybe, who knows? I honestly have no idea. Yeah, so the first actually hit his left forearm and traveled down to his wrist. The second hit him in the back and missed all vital organs. And then the third hit him in his left thigh and exited through his inner thigh.
But only that last one was fatal?
The fourth bullet was the only one that was fatal and struck all 4 of those organs.
Oof.
So here's the interesting thing about the investigation, though, is that robbery homicide, this was originally thought to be just a gang incident and a gang drive-by, which I mean, it makes sense in theory, but at the same time, you got to think about, like, this is a very high-profile person that's getting murdered right now. This is literally an A-list. This would be if, like, let's say, this would be if, like, Kanye got murdered today. The interesting thing about it is that gang units originally took over at first, but a month later, robbery homicide finally took over because they were making no headway with it. Immediately following the shooting, the report surfaced linking Wallace's murder with that of Tupac Shakur's 6 months earlier. Tupac Shakur's, there we go. Due to similarities in the drive-by shootings and the highly publicized East Coast-West Coast hip-hop feud, of which Shakur and Wallace had been central figures. Media reports had previously speculated that Wallace was in some way connected to Shakur's murder, though no evidence ever surfaced to seriously implicate him. I cannot talk today.
Pick a pronunciation.
Ah!
Shakira. Whatever you want to go with.
Shakur. That is the pronunciation.
Okay, all right. Perfect.
Tupac Shakur. There we go. Tupac Amaru Shakur.
Maybe we should just switch everything up and just, like, do a Call Her Daddy style podcast today.
God, no.
You know, like, just right in the middle, just throw a fucking monkey wrench into this shit, you know? No? Okay, never mind.
No.
Scratch that idea completely. Let's keep going.
The investigation, obviously, you know, nobody's ever been convicted or indicted or even anything along those lines. So the investigation went cold. But in March 2007, Biggie Smalls' mom, Valletta Wallace, filed a wrongful death claim against the city of Los Angeles based on the evidence championed by one of the lead detectives in the original investigation, by the name of Russell Poole. They claimed that the LAPD had sufficient evidence to arrest the assailant, but failed to actually use it. David Mack and Amir Muhammad, aka Harry Billups, were originally named as the defendants in the civil suit, but were dropped shortly before the trial began after the LAPD and FBI dismissed them as suspects.
That's weird.
Yeah,
that's very weird. Something's going on there.
Here,
let
me enlighten you a little bit.
Enlighten me a little, because I don't know.
So, there is one big theory that comes from this whole thing. The main theory of who killed Biggie Smalls is actually presented by investigator Russell Poole, who was a member of the LAPD or Robbery Homicide Division at the time that the investigation was happening, and he was actually on the case itself for a period of time before being kicked off the case and subsequently being taken out of robbery homicide and then eventually resigning from the LAPD. He believes that Suge Knight, who was the CEO of Death Row Records, the label that Tupac was signed to, had hired LAPD officers to carry out the murder of, along with some members of the Bloods gang. He hired them to carry out a hit on Biggie Smalls.
That's messed up. So, like, it was Tupac. So it all leads back to Tupac, is what you're saying in this theory.
Because okay. So both theories that I'm going to present have to deal with Suge Knight. Both of the theories that I'm going to present widely instead of just saying this is a theory. Move on to the next one. Both involve Suge Knight. This is the one that personally I believe is true because it has the most evidence against it. So what it was is the two people that I mentioned previously, David Mack and Amir Muhammad. Amir Muhammad is a now known hitman who had converted to the religion of Islam, actually, and subsequently changed his name to Amir Muhammad because he was previously known as Harry Billups. Yeah. He was a known hitman who was also friends with David Mack. David Mack was an LAPD officer who was actually arrested on charges of bank robbery after he robbed a bank of $700,000.
Wow.
So I mentioned previously that the driver was driving a black Chevrolet Impala.
Yeah.
David Mack owned a black Chevrolet Impala was connected to death row security because he was moonlighting. And for those of you that don't know what moonlighting is when an officer takes on outside security jobs to just make a little bit extra money. It's not really recommended, and it's often sometimes even forbidden. I know
frowned
upon, forbidden, whatever you want to say.
I have a question about that. I've always been curious about that. Is that like what a private detective is, like same vein, or no?
No.
Or is that just a separate?
Usually private detectives are retired from actual police departments or have resigned from actual police departments and use the knowledge that they gained from there to start their own private detective agency and open up their own place and everything like that.
And that's legal?
Yeah.
Like, that seems like something that totally would not be legal.
Yeah, it's legal. They can't actually indict people on crimes, but, like...
They can get the cops involved?
They can get the cops involved if they get sufficient evidence to be like, yeah, this person definitely committed a crime.
Okay. That's, sorry, just a weird thing that I've always been curious about.
Yeah, I mean, fair.
Yeah.
That's why I'm here, to answer your questions.
Yeah, you're the criminology major and all that.
Yeah, I am. Yeah.
So you think it's this sugar guy, right? That's
Suge Knight.
Suge Knight. Yes. No. So, I mean,
I think
all this seems like it's leading way back to him.
I definitely think that this is Suge Knight. And here's the thing. Obviously, as I said before, David Mack owned an Impala. Both David Mack and Amir Muhammad were at the Peterson that night. Amir Muhammad very closely matched the sketches that were given, like the police sketches of the shooter, and he was actually picked out of a lineup from somebody in Biggie's security entourage. And the biggest piece of evidence, in my opinion, is the ammunition that was used is a very rare form of ammunition. It's called Gecko 9mm ammunition.
And that's why it's spiraling all through this dude's body. Okay.
How do geckos spiral?
No. I'm just saying it's a special kind of ammunition, so that's why it was like,
So there are 2 distributors for Gecko 9mm ammunition in the United States. I'm just going to move on from that question.
I'm just maybe that's why. I'm just curious.
It's not, but okay.
Bullets don't usually spiral through people's arms and shit, so that's why I'm
It didn't go through his arm!
You said it went down to his wrist.
No, that was the first one. It went into his arm, and then... because of the angle, he was most likely sitting like this. Yeah. It missed his body, went into his arm, and shot down to his wrist.
But how does something hit your thigh and shoot up into your colt? Like,
okay, that I don't fucking know.
That's what I want to know. That's what I'm curious about. I'm like, is he on the ground, like shooting up? You
gotta realize though, if you're getting shot, you're probably in a weird position like this.
No, but he's sitting in a car, probably.
So if he's like this, and the bullet comes in through his hip.
You mean like maybe he leaned over, like he felt the first couple bullets, and he's like, oh shit! Like,
so he's sitting in the passenger seat, which means that his right side is to the window. Okay. So if he's leaning like this,
so he's leaning like this actually,
he can come in and get shot in the hip. It could travel through his colon, which is around here, through his liver, which is back there. And then into his heart and into his left lung and go out his shoulder.
I'm just imagining the shooter getting on the ground, like shooting up. I'm like, why is he doing that?
But because of that, you got to realize, like, if you're getting shot, you're probably going to be leaning away from whoever's shooting you.
That makes a lot more sense.
And he's also probably like, holy shit, I'm getting shot at right now.
Yeah.
And he's in a weird position because he's startled, and obviously he's.
The angle of that bullet is just really confusing to me.
Yeah, but that makes a lot of sense though. If he's going like that and especially because he's in a taller car than an Impala.
Yeah.
So it's going upward already, meaning that he doesn't have to lean as far.
Okay, so he wasn't a hired vehicle too. Okay,
yes.
It makes a little more sense now. So this was special ammunition though.
Yes, there were only 2 known distributors of it in the United States, and so obviously it's very rare. Most of the time, these types of bullets are really only used by police officers. As I've previously mentioned, David Mack was a member of the LAPD.
Yeah.
And that same type of ammunition was actually found in David Mack's Impala.
Oh, for real?
And used casings.
There's like so much evidence against these guys. Why did they never get convicted or anything?
I don't know.
The charges got dropped is what you said, right?
Yes. Russell Poole believes that the LAPD was a part of a cover-up. Because obviously, the LAPD had just dealt with race riots 5 years prior due to the Rodney King beating. O.J. Simpson had happened early, a little bit earlier than that, I believe. It might be after. I don't know.
I believe it was the same year, 97, right? Wasn't that, or 96? It was 96 or 97.
When did OJ kill his wife?
I found this on the web.
Okay. June 12th, 1994. Yeah.
94.
So this
okay,
was 3 years
3
after
yeah.
the OJ case as well. So if the LAPD, if it had come out that the LAPD was involved in Biggie Smalls' murder, the city would have burned down.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Like,
so they had to cover it just because you know, I don't want to get political, but man, that fucking sucks. That just fucking sucks. One racist guy in there, it's ruining everything. I'm sorry, I can't stop eating fruit
multiple
snacks.
racist guys actually. Because
yeah. I mean, you don't just do a cover up by yourself. Like Jesus.
And also like. And the reason why Russell Poole believes that this is a cover-up is because when he presented evidence to the head of the robbery homicide detective, as well as the chief of police for the LAPD, he was told, and I quote, "We're not going that way."
Like that just sounds like oh, leave this alone, bro. You know,
yeah.
like,
Don't look this way.
Shady.
Go, look away. That's like when the animals start to have sex at the zoo, and you're like sitting there and you're like 6, and like you're just kind of sitting there just like. And your mom's like, "No, look away, child!
You can't know what this is yet.
You're not old enough, damn it!"
Now, my other question I have about this is you said that Tupac was the one that... I'm sorry, Suge Knight? Is that what is
Suge
it?
Knight.
Suge Knight. Okay, I don't know why. That name is just not sticking with me for some reason. So that guy told Tupac to get these guys in it. So did Tupac have some kind of like vendetta against Biggie? Like...
Tupac was dead before Biggie was killed.
No, I know, but you said 6 months before, and you said that he had something to do with this.
So, Tupac had actually been shot in, I believe he was visiting Biggie Smalls, from what I remember. He was around Biggie Smalls, and he had actually been shot while he was actually on his way to see Biggie. Biggie Smalls, he was in the hospital, and then he got sentenced to jail for his rape charge, and while Tupac was in jail, Biggie came out with the song "Who Shot Ya?" So it was Tupac started to believe that Biggie had set up a hit on Tupac, and wanted him dead. I don't know for what reason, and I don't believe that's true. But it started a whole East Coast West Coast. It started the whole rivalry between them because they were best friends before that. They were really close friends with each other.
Yeah, because from what I know, that they like the very few things I know about these two is that they liked each other.
Yeah,
now it just seems like, oh wait, no, they actually plotted to kill each other.
Well, they didn't
allegedly.
Yeah, allegedly. But yeah, so they were great friends. They genuinely cared about each other, and then it's starting to be rumored that Biggie tried to kill Tupac, and Tupac then went to jail. Biggie never visited Tupac in jail because of his record. Alright, so we're going to take a break actually first, and then we're going to come back with the second theory as well as some other varying theories that I think are just pretty cool.
Alright.
So stay tuned, we'll be right back.